How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Smith, and I'm thrilled to have you here for this compelling season dedicated to the inspiring stories featured in the book, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. Each week, we'll spotlight an extraordinary woman as she shares her path of courage and resilience. These are stories that will move you, challenge you, and reaffirm the beauty of evolving through letting go. Today, I am honored to have Jacqueline Satera join me. Jackie, or Jax to many, is a passionate advocate for women's empowerment and a seasoned professional with nearly 20 years of experience in higher education and event planning. She's the founder and CEO of JNC Innovations, a business dedicated to curating unique experiences through consulting, event planning, and specialty gift services. Jackie combines her entrepreneurial spirit with her talent for creating moments of joy and connection. Her journey of embracing freedom and letting go was transformative, leading her to launch her business. This path also deepened her understanding of the unique challenges women face across professions. Drawing from these insights and her passion for uplifting others, in 2022, she created Lead Her Ship, a program designed to inspire and empower women on their professional journeys. Jackie's commitment to helping others shines through in her work as she continues to curate meaningful experiences and encourage women to lead bold and courageous lives. Jackie, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen. I'm so happy to be here.
So your chapter is called From Business Suits to Swimsuits, which I love. And so for those who haven't read it yet, give us a peek into your story.
Sure. So my story is about the moment I realized I was no longer thriving in my job that I once loved. I've always been a planned person in life, setting goals, reaching them, working hard to get there, wherever where is, like promotions, etc. And then my work changed and my love for my work changed. My anxiety and stress was like going through the roof in very unhealthy ways. My job overall was pretty busy. There was always something urgent, something taking me away from personal plans because I would have to either work late or solve a problem after hours. I would have to find time at night or on the weekends to actually get my job done or get things accomplished. So like I mentioned, it just became really unhealthy and unsustainable to live a happy and joyful life. So having a job that causes too much stress and burnout was not how I wanted to continue to live my life. I was working too much to get everything done on time and stay afloat, too much to please everyone above or below me, making sure that they had what they needed to be successful, but I was doing that and I was sacrificing myself in that process. Because really the problem was no one was really looking out for me, including me, right? Like I was great at doing all of that for other people, but not for myself. And I would always make excuses to say, oh, I'm too busy for X, Y, and Z, especially when it came to my personal life and dating, which is another book and a whole nother podcast. We could talk about that later. But long story short, I was stressed out. It was showing up in physical ways that I never thought would happen to me. I started to lose my hair and I was a wreck. Mm-hmm. I always had long, thick, what I considered to be beautiful hair, and it was literally falling out in front of my eyes. in clumps, and it was awful. So basically, I was adhering to this professional image, always striving for success in profession, which led me into a downward spiral of burnout. I was weighed down by societal expectations, both at work, in life. I was working around the clock, barely having a social life, like I mentioned. And then about a year ago, actually almost to date, my world started to shift. And it was at that moment I found myself starting to really feel unhappy at work, losing my motivation to go to work and actually being productive, which is 100% not me.
Mm-hmm.
So the shift of making changes was really put into action when I attended this women's retreat, and it provided a lot of clarity for me. And my eyes really started to open up to what was going on in my life and things that I really needed to start letting go of. And the conversations at that retreat were really a pivotal moment for me. And then it turned into, once all the changes went into motion, I basically had the best summer of my life, and I was wearing bathing suits every day instead of business suits.
I love your story so much. Now, so just expand on that a little bit more. So
Sure.
the best summer of your life. So this was a career break. So
It was a career break.
You left your organization and took a break, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yes.
I made the decision to leave my job, and I didn't really work for, we'll say, from like June to November. I only did things I wanted to do. I started the business in June, and then I poured time and energy into that, right? Like building a website and branding and putting my name out there. I relocated states. So getting established in a new state also takes a lot of time and effort and energy, packing up a house and all of those things. So the summer months, so June, July, and even August. And so I worked in higher education, and I really worked in higher education ever since I was a student. I was a student leader. I was an RA. And for basically 20 years, I had no August and no May. They were like non-existent.
Right.
So anybody that kind of works in higher ed, specifically like the housing, residence, life world, that should be familiar to them, right? Because school starts in August and then it ends in May and all the things that go along with that. And so for the first time, really ever, since I was like a child, I had an August. And I went to the beach every single day. I just basically only did things that I wanted to do. Sure, like life has things that you have to do to like be sustainable in life. But, some days I just stayed at home because there was nothing that I had to do, like nothing that was so urgent. There were days where I wouldn't even open my computer. I picked up books and read books on the beach, which was also something that I never really did. Like before I would go to the beach and I would bring my computer. Like who does that? Not,
oh my gosh.
So, right. So it was just, so that's why I say it was the best summer of my life, because I just was, right? Like I was where I wanted to be. I was doing things I wanted to do. I was spending time with people that I hadn't gotten to spend, summer months with.
Yeah. And it took a lot to get to that point too. So you went through a lot of physical issues, stress, all of that got you to the point to take a career break. And I talk to a lot of folks actually that get to this point, but I think so many people are afraid to take that break. And so I love this story, just giving folks permission to take a break. It doesn't have to be forever. It can be a summer, It can be a month, but just give yourself permission to take some breathing room and don't take your computer to the beach and just do what you want for a little bit. Yeah, I think it's a really big deal. And I do see more and more organizations offering things like sabbaticals or, kind of wellness leaves and things like that, just to allow people that space to breathe, which is what you were really craving. So during that time, tell us a little more about what you learned about yourself. So there's, this freedom of exploration, and you relocated. So you had a whole new change of scenery. You built a business, but what did you learn, and how did that shape your approach to work in life?
Sure. So that time of freedom for me, it really taught me that I had been so focused on doing that I really just forgot how to be. Like the fact that I would go to the beach, go to the beach and my computer was in my beach bag. Like that's not healthy, not sustainable. Not to mention like sand is a whole nother issue, right? But I really learned that my worth wasn't tied to my job title or my productivity. And that's how I was living my life for so long. Like my job was my identity, and for so long, it worked and it was happy. And then something just shifted, right? And it wasn't what it once was. And that was really eye-opening for me. So the time that I had back in my schedule, it reshaped my entire approach to work and life. Like now I'm prioritizing and aligning everything with my values, creating space for joy, which is so important, embracing opportunities that fuel my passion rather than draining me. I can't remember exactly when I heard the phrase, be where your feet are, or who said it, or if I even read it somewhere, because it was such a long time ago. I really wish that I did so I could give that person credit because I say it all the time. But during that summer of freedom, I learned to put myself first, right? Like what a concept, right? And it's so much easier said than done for so many people. And I was certainly one of those people for a really long time. So I've just reshaped my approach now. I'm intentional about living life and not watching it go by. I continue to be a planned person because ultimately that's who I am at the core, but not so much that it consumes me, and I also don't let things stress me out if things shift or the plans change, right? Like, sure, I still get stressed out, or that's a normal part of life, but not to the extent of, how it was happening or how it was showing up before. So I organize my time for the work that needs to get done. I have specific days and times for business meetings, right? Like not all day, every day, which is really a game changer, setting realistic goals and timelines. I'm like a fan of to-do lists and color coding things and just making sure things get accomplished. And most importantly, I really just embraced being where my feet are and going with the flow and letting go of control, which is honestly a continuous work in progress.
Yes. Oh, there's so much goodness in here. And that mantra, be where your feet are. I love that. I underlined that when I was reading your chapter because same, I heard that and it really stood out to me. I was like, oh my gosh, in this world of distraction and all the things and the running and when you almost feel like you're on autopilot. I get the sense like you were in this autopilot. I've been there myself. And it's like, no, just stop and be where your feet are in this moment. And I think in the book you had mentioned too a couple other things that stood out to you when you were in the Finger Lakes, which is one of my most favorite places ever on the face of this earth. And so I think you were visiting the Women's Museum and there were some quotes there too that helped you realize like, hey, this life is going to pass me by if I don't stop and recognize what's happening. So yeah. And I have to point out two more things that really stood out as you were talking. So one is the identity piece. Oh my goodness, 100%. Like how for hundreds of years, I feel like we've been tied up in what we do versus who we are. And I talk to folks about this all the time. Like you are not your job title. You are not your MBA. You are how you show up, rooted in intention, your character, how you conduct yourself, what you're proud of. Like that's who you are, not these external factors for hundreds of years that have told us what our identity is. So yeah, that's a really big deal. And then the other thing that jumps out, and I was reading or listening between the lines, is managing your energy versus your time. There's something there, right? About scheduling based on your energy versus just back to back filling all your time. So these are things that I think you only realize once you get to that point of exhaustion, and then you have to kind of restart, hit the reset button like you talk about, and then figure out what works for you, right?
Yeah. Like, I mean, like I was definitely, one of those people. And I know a lot of people too, right? Like you're busy, 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 and you thrive on being busy. And it just becomes so much of your identity where, right, like you're working back to back to get things done and you think it's healthy or like you're happy to do those things. And then eventually something happens, right? And for so many women that I've talked to too, it's burnout.
Yes.
Right? Like, like you're in it and you're like, okay, I can do this forever. Or I remember when I was younger, I only needed, maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep, right? Like I was just going, doing whatever it was, right? Like school, work, life, whatever. And now, listen, 4 hours of sleep. You don't want to be around me. I at least need 7 hours.
Yes, yes. Well, it's interesting too that you say this because it makes me just think about life changes. We change as humans.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Seasons of life are going to be different. And when you decide what you want to be when you grow up, when you're 17 years old, it's going to change over time. And it's no longer are we in the same career for 35 years and then retire. I don't even know what retirement is anymore. And so we really have to know how to evolve and change as those seasons of life evolve and change. So I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront.
Yeah.
Now, part of your story, you actually start your chapter with this shocking physical manifestation of your stress, which you mentioned earlier was your hair falling out in clumps. And you do have long, beautiful, gorgeous hair. And so take us to that point. Like, what did it feel like to realize like this was happening and how did it propel you towards change?
It was terrifying. Having long hair, hair falls out naturally, right? But this was not normal. I had always heard that stress could impact the body and show up in different ways. But of course, I never really considered myself to be stressed out, right? Like it was just the norm. So I never defined it as stress, right? Or if I did, I was making excuses that it's healthy stress and it's, keeping me going, which is a whole nother downward spiral of a disaster, right? So never really thought that it would happen to me. So watching the clumps of hair fall out was a wake-up call.
Yeah,
I couldn't ignore it. I went to countless doctors, did medical tests, hoping for an answer. But the truth was, I was so stressed out. I was burnt out. And the realization forced me to confront just how much my job was taking from me. I would get up from my desk chair at work and the back would be covered in my hair.
Oh my goodness.
So it was like visually too, right? And it was the visualization for me of seeing it that also hit really hard. And sometimes I would run my fingers through my hair, like just to like fix it before a meeting or getting on a Zoom or whatever. I feel like you walk into a meeting and the wind blows, and then I would see the clumps of hair in my hand. And then it became I was afraid to wash my hair in the shower as much as I was. I'm not like a wash your hair every day kind of person anyway. But I was afraid because then it was seeing it all over the shower floor, right? More so than what was like the normal over the years of just, your hair falling out when you're brushing it or washing it or whatever. And so it was pretty terrifying for me. So I felt like my hair was just constantly all over my clothes. It was just awful. And I was really self-conscious about it.
Yeah, for sure. And then so the doctors didn't help? Like you just used that as your own wake-up call and almost like that permission slip to make a change?
Yeah. So the after everything came back okay, then they started asking, well, what's going on? Like, what do you do for work? And are you stressed out? Right. So it was basically their question prompting that kind of led to me like, okay, maybe I am really stressed out, right? Because if it wasn't anything medical that was causing it, I went to the dermatologist, I got like the special shampoo, and all of those things. I started taking hair vitamins. And so, all of those things. And then, it still falls out a little bit. Like, I think I'm still in the process of healing, if you will. Of course.
Yeah. Right.
But, I would look at myself and be like, oh my gosh, I have no hair.
Oh.
And I know that that's not true.
Right.
But I was so self-conscious and I was like, oh my gosh, like I could, like touching it, it was just like, where did it all go? And I felt like it was short just because it was a mess.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's so interesting how stress shows up physically for different people in different situations. And I've heard so many different stories about the physical manifestation of stress. And it really can shake things up for you. Your body knows before you even know,
right.
And so it's almost like, I don't know if you see it like this now, but it's almost like saying thank you to that situation happening or else you wouldn't have made that change. I don't know. Do you feel that way?
Yeah,
at this
absolutely.
point? Yeah. And I'm so glad it's feeling back to normal. It looks beautiful, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now let's talk about the retreat. So in the book or in your chapter, the retreat is a pretty pivotal moment. And you had written yourself a letter and then received that letter. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So it was part of this activity, right? Like the host said, write a letter to yourself and we're just going to mail it when it feels right, feeling right to the person that was going to put it in the mail. So stepping away gave me space, like stepping away, attending that retreat. So, without the daily grind, I could see things clearly. I was surrounded by women who listened and supported me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt heard, which is really a game changer for me. I almost didn't even attend that retreat because of work. And I am so happy that I took my vacation days and I went. I really believe that I was meant to be there in that space with those women. The letter that I wrote to myself at that retreat, it really arrived at the perfect moment. And it reminded me of my own wisdom and my own magic and reinforcing that I was on the right path, like the right path ahead through life. And it was about actually right now, a year later, that I attended the retreat. I just got back from a long weekend with an amazing group of women from the retreat. And it's just continues to be a great community of women supporting women. And I'm grateful for all of them. I'm grateful for that activity and that I was able to attend.
Yeah. There's something to be said about space, like being in a space that's not the day-to-day grind, being around others that feel inspiring, having the space to actually breathe and think about what you want. And I think you said something around that it led to that clarity. And that's what happens when you give yourself the space to actually breathe. It can lead to clarity, to things that are much more aligned with who you are and where you're going in your life and your career. So, and then I think there's like that magic of a retreat where you have folks that have been there or that get it, that create the space, to be able to give you just like some reflection prompts or to do an activity like this that later on down the road helped propel you into a path that was much more aligned. So I think that goes a long way. And I've heard countless stories too about folks who have said, and I'm going to go do this event. And then it turns into be a life-changing event. And I know you do that work today, which is so cool to help others actually, create that space for others to make those changes, which is just such a fabulous way that you've experienced it yourself and then can give back to others in that way. Now, you left a secure job with nothing else lined up, which is terrifying and liberating. And I know a lot of people out there fear all the uncertainty. So how did you find the courage to take that leap and what would you share with others?
Sure. So I really leaned on my support system, my family, my friends, the women at the retreat. They really became a huge part of my circle and my network. I reminded myself that I had made tough choices before and I've come out stronger. And I did not make this decision overnight. So it wasn't right. Like I woke up and I went to work and I quit it. It wasn't that. It was a planned out process for me for months, right? I was having all of these feelings. I was stressed out, the loss of my hair, realizing that like a change needed to be made. So, and because I'm a planned person, right? Like I kind of started to plan an exit strategy, if you will.
Good. Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, it took some time for the planning and ultimately, it didn't happen exactly how I had it planned, which also is why now I'm just like, you have a plan and then life has another plan, right? And so I think it's important to have plans and goals and, all of those things, but you have to be able to be
iterate,
a little bit
agile.
flexible. Yeah, absolutely. So actually, going back to talking about like the stress and everything, so in this situation, right, like my hair was losing out, I was stressed out. And I knew that if I didn't leave, I was probably going to end up in the hospital just from like stress, anxiety, which actually did happen to me pre-COVID. And one of my staff members actually took me to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Oh my gosh.
And it ended up, thankfully, it was just like a panic attack, but I had never truly had a panic attack before. And it was really scary. And that probably should have been a wake up. I mean, it was a wake up call for me in some ways at that time. But then, right, the pandemic happened and then like talk about working around the clock and being stressed out. Right. So it was almost like I didn't even have time to really like reflect on it because life just changed for all of us. So I'm very thankful that I took the signs that were happening to me this time around and to do it differently, right? Like to live life differently. I would say my advice, trust yourself, listen to your body and your intuition, what they're telling you. I truly believe in a woman's intuition. I would say talk to people, your friends, family, mentors, whoever your people may be. And if you're struggling to find people, you can talk to me. You can email me. And I would be
so sweet. I love that.
I would be happy to chat and make connections, right? Because I also believe in the power of a conversation and the power of connecting people. 100%. I believe in that. So I would say, think, reflect, journal, maybe start journaling if that's something that you're not already doing. Just make a plan to move yourself forward because only you truly know if you're happy or not in your current situation. And if it's the latter, there's always something that you can do. It doesn't have to be leaving your job, right? Because I absolutely understand that everybody's not in that situation to be able to do it, but there's always something that can be done, right? To find joy, to make changes, baby steps, right? Like for me, it's like, what brings you joy and how do you get there? And understanding that it's not necessarily an overnight, right? Like magical thing that happens. So I think you have to carve out time each day for you, thinking about what brings you joy and starting it, like to get you there. And know that even though it's scary, stepping into the unknown can truly lead to something greater than you ever imagined. And I promise you, you're stronger and more resilient than you most likely give yourself credit for.
Yes, and yes. So first of all, I just have to go back here. Thinking you're having a heart attack and going to the hospital, you said it was just a panic attack. There's no such thing as just a panic attack. Let's be real.
Right.
I mean, that is another major wake-up call. So I can only imagine how scary that was for you and to think about. And then I was just putting myself in your shoes during the pandemic and what was happening in the colleges. Like, oh my gosh. Now, I'll tell you, the moment I lost my breath with the whole pandemic was when I heard on the radio or whatever I was listening to that University of Pennsylvania was not allowing their students back after spring break. The sheer logistics of that decision made me lose my breath. And here you are living that exact moment in your job. And oh my gosh. Yeah, panic attack, heart attack, all the things. Like that's wild to work through for sure. Holy smokes.
I'm
so glad that you recognized it and, decided to make that change. Now, the other thing I have to share here is thinking about what brings you joy. So a lot of times I talk with folks that are in that burnout and they don't even know what brings them joy. I've been there myself. Like it's hard to even know what brings you joy. And so pausing just to think about that for a little bit and make a list of all, they can be the tiniest little things. Right. Just make a list of all of those things and then figure out how to bring that more into your day-to-day. It doesn't have to be jumping off a cliff, to start your own business. It can be little tiny things like maybe working from home 1 or 2 days a week or stopping for your favorite coffee on the way to work. It doesn't have to be these grand gestures, right?
Absolutely. Yes, I agree 100%.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your story and all of that. I know it's going to be so helpful for folks that are in, a similar type of situation with their jobs. Now, you followed your heart to start your own business aligned with your values. So tell us more about JNC Innovations and maybe share a little bit about what it feels like to wake up and do work that's aligned to your values.
It is awesome. It's so wonderful. And I had wanted to start a business for a really long time because I've done all of these things pretty much my whole adult life. And everybody would always say like, oh, you're so good at it. You should, start a business. And I'd be like, oh, I'm just happy to do it. Somebody planning somebody's birthday party or putting together gift baskets for, the thing. And then, I had the time. I had the time, space, and energy to actually make it a reality. And for me, that was a game changer. And it's what I needed, right? It's what I needed. So JNC Innovations is my heart and business form.
Yay.
It's curating unique experiences through event planning, consulting, and specialty gifting. I just love bringing people together in meaningful ways. And, and for me, I really believe it can be at an event, right? Whether it's a life celebration or getting your employees together for an appreciation or planning a workshop. I think that there's ways to create joy and happiness in all of that. And for some people, it's a matter of hiring the person to do it because they're not good at it. And that brings them joy, right? So I think the joy can come in so many, different ways, out of the box thinking, if you will. But I just love it. I love bringing smiles to faces, and that's what it's all about. So I plan parties, retreats, networking events, backyard barbecues, right? Whatever anybody needs help with. And basically, if somebody has a vision, my bread and butter is helping that to life, no matter what the event or the occasion is. And when it comes to specialty gifting, this really fills my cup because I love curating. Right. So curating a gift basket that's specific to a person, and, either if I get to hand deliver it to them, seeing their eyes light up is really great, or getting, if it's shipped or whatever, hearing people say, oh my gosh, they loved it and they couldn't, right? That just makes me so happy.
Oh my goodness. I love your energy in hearing this. And I can't help but notice the ripple effect. So when one person makes the decision to follow their hearts and do whatever that is, whether that's starting a business or aligning your values with your job, or even just changing an industry or changing roles to make it more aligned, the ripple effect that has on those around you. So here Jackie's talking about her customers and clients, but think about, her family and her friends and all the people that are around her that feel that energy and that ripple effect from this decision that she made to follow her heart. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for this, for sure. And I am that person that would hire someone and be so happy to hire somebody to plan the party or whatever it is, because, that is just not in my wheelhouse, which again, leveraging each other's strengths to do the things. There's a lot to be said for that as well. Now, Jackie, one question I wanted to mention. So this is all through the Brave Women at Work community. So what inspired you to share this story through the Brave Women at Work community?
Yeah. So when I learned that, so I've followed Brave Women at Work through all of their books. So this is the fourth book in this series. So I've read them all and have met the amazing women, not all of the women, but, some of the amazing women in the previous books. And when I learned that the next one was going to be Lessons in Letting Go, that was also the start for me to make the plan to transition out of my job. And that really started happening for me at that first retreat that I went to. Amazing. And then it just kind of all fell into place. So when I learned of the book, I had no intention really of leaving my job, especially without having another one, right? I had all these other thoughts and ideas of what I could write about, right? When I was invited to be a part of the project. And then over time, I'm well, it looks like I'll be sharing this story of starting over. And so it all just really fell together in the most magical way that wasn't planned.
Yes.
Which goes back to, here's my plan. And, and then it more or less fell apart, but in the best possible way.
Yeah. I like to call that divine timing.
Yes.
Oh, it's so fabulous. Well, my friend, where can people find you online? Where do you like to hang out online?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn, and you can find me there at Jackie Cetera, and the business page is JNC Innovations, Curating Unique Experiences. My website is jncinnovations.com, so feel free to go peruse that. And then you can also sign up to be a part of my newsletter there to see what's going on. And I'm also on Instagram and Facebook, JNC Innovations.
Excellent. And we will make sure everyone can connect with you easily through the show notes. Well, Jackie, thank you so much for joining me today. I love your energy and your story. So thank you for the courage to follow your heart and share your story with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope the stories in this series serve as a powerful reminder that careers are rarely easy or linear. It's the courage to let go and embrace the unknown that shapes our paths. Every career story has the potential to inspire and connect us in the most unexpected and meaningful ways. I'm certain that Jackie's story inspired you, and I know that you'll love the book. So if you haven't already, be sure to grab your copy of Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go on Amazon. And you can support Jackie and the incredible women who contributed to this project. And don't miss next week's episode where we'll hear from another fabulous author sharing her story of letting go. We'll talk to you next time.